The sound of leather hitting flesh echoed through the dimly lit gymnasium in Hong Kong's Central District as Jackie Chan threw his final combination of the day. Sweat dripped from his brow onto the worn canvas beneath his feet, each drop marking another hour of relentless training. It was March 15, 1978, and the 24-year-old martial artist had no idea that in exactly 72 hours, he would step into a ring with the most famous boxer in the world. The phone call came at 3 in the morning. Jackie's manager, Willie Chan, was shouting so loudly through the receiver that Jackie had to hold it away from his ear. The words tumbled out in a mixture of Cantonese and broken English, but the message was clear enough to make Jackie's blood run cold. Muhammad Ali, the three-time heavyweight champion of the world, was in Hong Kong filming a commercial. The original stunt coordinator had fallen ill with food poisoning, and somehow, through a series of connections that Willie refused to explain, Jackie's name had come up as a replacement. "But Willie," Jackie said, sitting up in his narrow bed, "I'm not a boxer, I'm a martial artist. There's a difference." "Tell that to Ali's people," Willie replied. "They want someone who can move, someone who understands rhythm and timing. They saw your work in Snake in the Eagle's Shadow. They specifically asked for you." Jackie rubbed his eyes, trying to process what he was hearing. Muhammad Ali wasn't just any boxer. He was poetry in motion, a man who had captured the imagination of the entire world with his speed, his wit, and his unwavering principles. He had refused to fight in Vietnam, sacrificing the prime years of his career for his beliefs. He had defeated Sonny Liston, Joe Frazier, and George Foreman. He was, quite simply, the greatest. "What exactly would I be doing?" Jackie asked. There was a pause on the other end of the line. "That's the thing," Willie said slowly. "They want you to spar with him. Not for real, you understand. It's for the commercial. But it has to look real. 12 rounds. Full contact, but controlled." Jackie felt his stomach drop. Full contact. Ali insisted on it. He said he doesn't do fake fighting. Either it's real or it's nothing. The next morning, Jackie found himself standing outside the Peninsula Hotel in Tsim Sha Tsui, staring up at the imposing facade of one of Hong Kong's most luxurious establishments. His hands were shaking slightly, though whether from nerves or excitement, he couldn't tell. He had fought in underground tournaments, faced off against some of the most skilled martial artists in Asia, but this was different. This wasn't about proving himself or making money. This was about stepping into the ring with a legend. The elevator ride to the 15th floor felt like an eternity. When the doors finally opened, Jackie was greeted by a wall of sound. Laughter, conversation, the clink of glasses, and underneath it all, a voice that was unmistakably American, unmistakably confident, and unmistakably Muhammad Ali. "Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. His hands can't hit what his eyes can't see." Jackie followed the sound down a corridor lined with expensive artwork and into a suite that seemed to take up half the floor. The room was filled with people, cameras, lighting equipment, and in the center of it all, holding court like a king, was Muhammad Ali himself. He was bigger than Jackie had expected, not just in height, but in presence. At 6 feet 3 inches, Ali towered over most of the people in the room, but it was more than his physical stature that commanded attention. There was an energy about him, a charisma that seemed to fill every corner of the space. He was telling a story, his hands moving expressively as he spoke, his voice rising and falling with the rhythm of a natural performer. "So I said to Frazier," Ali was saying, "Joe, you're so ugly. When you cry, the tears run down the back of your head." The room erupted in laughter, and Ali's eyes sparkled with mischief. It was then that he noticed Jackie standing in the doorway. The conversation died away as Ali's gaze fixed on the young martial artist. For a moment, nobody spoke. Jackie felt as though he was being evaluated, measured, weighed in some invisible scale. Then Ali's face broke into a wide grin. Well, he said, his voice carrying that distinctive Louisville accent. "You must be Jackie Chan. I've been waiting to meet you, young man." Jackie stepped forward, bowing slightly in the traditional Chinese manner. "Mr. Ali, it's an honor to meet you, sir." Ali laughed, a rich, booming sound that filled the room. "Mr. Ali's son, call me Muhammad. We're going to be dancing together tomorrow, so we might as well be friends." The next few hours passed in a blur. Jackie found himself swept into Ali's orbit, listening to stories of fights in Madison Square Garden, encounters with presidents and kings, and the philosophy that had guided the champion through his extraordinary career. Ali spoke about the importance of standing up for what you believe in, even when the whole world is against you. He talked about fear, and how the only way to overcome it was to face it head-on. You know what separates a champion from everyone else? Ali asked, his voice growing serious as the room quieted around them. It's not talent. Lord knows there's plenty of talented fighters who never amounted to nothing. It's not even hard work, though that's part of it. It's the willingness to put yourself on the line when everything's at stake. To step into that ring knowing you might lose, but doing it anyway because that's what champions do. Jackie absorbed every word, but underneath his fascination was a growing sense of unease. Tomorrow, he would be stepping into a ring with this man. Not just any ring, but a professional boxing ring, with professional rules and a professional referee. The commercial they were filming was for a sports drink company, and they wanted footage of Ali sparring with a mysterious challenger from the East. The idea was to create something that looked like a real fight, something that would capture the imagination of audiences around the world. The problem was, as Jackie was learning, Ali didn't believe in fake anything. That evening, Jackie returned to his small apartment in Kowloon and tried to prepare. He had been training in martial arts since he was 7 years old. First at the China Drama Academy under the brutal tutelage of Master Yu Jimiwen, then in various fighting disciplines as he worked his way up through the Hong Kong film industry. He was fast, he was strong, and he understood combat in a way that few people ever would. But boxing was different. Boxing had its own rhythm, its own language, its own brutal mathematics. In martial arts, you had your feet, your elbows, your knees, your grappling techniques. In boxing, you had your fists and your movement, and that was it. It was pure, distilled combat, stripped down to its most essential elements. Jackie spent the night shadowboxing, trying to adapt his martial arts techniques to the constraints of boxing. He practiced slipping punches, rolling with impacts, moving in and out of range. But no matter how much he trained, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was preparing for something far beyond his experience. The venue for the filming was the Hong Kong Coliseum, a massive arena that could hold over 12,000 spectators. When Jackie arrived the next morning, the place was buzzing with activity. Camera crews were setting up elaborate lighting rigs. Sound technicians were testing equipment. And in the center of it all was a regulation boxing ring, its white canvas gleaming under the bright lights. Ali was already there, going through his warm-up routine with a grace that seemed to defy his size. He moved around the ring like a dancer, his feet barely seeming to touch the canvas as he threw combinations at invisible opponents. Every movement was fluid, economical, perfect. Watching him, Jackie began to understand why people called him the greatest. "You ready for this, Jackie?" Ali called out when he spotted the martial artist approaching the ring. "I hope you brought your dancing shoes, because we're about to put on a show." The director, a nervous-looking American named Robert Sterling, gathered everyone around for a briefing. The concept was simple enough: 12 rounds of sparring, with each round representing a different phase of Ali's career. The first few rounds would be light, allowing the cameras to capture Ali's famous speed and footwork. The middle rounds would be more intense, showcasing his power and ring generalship. The final rounds would be about heart, about what happened when two fighters pushed each other to their absolute limits. "Remember," Sterling said, looking directly at Jackie, "this needs to look real. The audience has to believe they're watching an actual fight. But safety is our top priority. We have medical personnel standing by, and if anyone gets hurt, we stop immediately." Jackie nodded, but he could see something in Ali's eyes that made him wonder if the champion had heard the same briefing. As Jackie was getting ready in his dressing room, wrapping his hands and putting on his gloves, Willie Chan pulled him aside. "Listen to me carefully," Willie said, his voice low and urgent. "I've been talking to some of Ali's people. This isn't just a commercial anymore. Word has gotten out, and there are some very important people coming to watch. Promoters, film executives, sports journalists. If you do well here, if you can hold your own with Ali, it could change everything for you. And if I don't?" Jackie asked. Willie's expression was grim. "Then you'll be remembered as the guy who got knocked out by Muhammad Ali in a commercial." The walk from the dressing room to the ring felt like the longest journey of Jackie's life. The arena had filled with people, far more than should have been there for a simple commercial shoot. Word had indeed gotten out, and it seemed like half of Hong Kong's entertainment and sports elite had come to witness what was being billed as an unprecedented meeting between East and West. As Jackie climbed through the ropes and into the ring, he could feel thousands of eyes upon him. The lights were blindingly bright, the noise from the crowd was deafening. And standing across from him, warming up in his corner, was Muhammad Ali, the referee, a distinguished-looking man named James Morrison, who had officiated some of the biggest fights in Asia, called both fighters to the center of the ring. Up close, Ali seemed even more imposing than before. His reach advantage was enormous. His shoulders were broad and powerful, and his eyes held a confidence that came from facing the best fighters in the world and beating them. "Gentlemen," Morrison said, "I want a clean fight. Protect yourselves at all times. Obey my commands, and remember that this is being filmed. Give the people something to remember." Ali extended his gloved hand toward Jackie, and as their fists touched, he leaned in close. "Don't hold back, young man," he whispered. "If you don't bring your best, you'll never forgive yourself." The bell for the first round rang, and suddenly Jackie found himself alone in the ring, with the most famous athlete in the world. Ali came out dancing, moving with that distinctive shuffle that had become his trademark. He threw a few lazy jabs, testing Jackie's reflexes, gauging his movement. Jackie responded with his own footwork, circling to his left, trying to find his range. The crowd was electric, sensing that they were witnessing something special. For the first minute of the round, both fighters were cautious, feeling each other out. Then Ali stepped up the pace. His jab snapped out like a whip, catching Jackie on the shoulder, then the chest, then barely missing his chin. Jackie tried to counter with a combination of his own, but Ali was already gone, dancing away with that infuriating smile on his face. "Come on, Jackie," Ali called out, loud enough for the microphones to pick up. "I thought you were supposed to be fast." The taunt had its intended effect. Jackie pressed forward, throwing a series of quick punches that showcased his martial arts background. His combinations were unorthodox, coming from angles that traditional boxers rarely used. Ali was forced to take him seriously for the first time, slipping and weaving to avoid the unexpected attacks. The round ended with both fighters having shown flashes of their respective skills, but it was clear that they were both holding something back. As Jackie returned to his corner, his trainer, an old boxing coach named Tommy Chen, was shaking his head. "He's playing with you," Tommy said. "That wasn't even 10% of what he can do. Be ready, because it's about to get much more serious." Tommy was right. The second round began with Ali turning up the intensity. His jab became sharper, more frequent, finding its mark with increasing regularity. Jackie tried to adapt, using his martial arts training to slip punches and counter from unexpected angles. But Ali's experience was beginning to show. The champion had faced every style of fighter imaginable, and he was quickly figuring out how to neutralize Jackie's unorthodox approach. Halfway through the round, Ali caught Jackie with a straight right hand that snapped his head back and sent him stumbling toward the ropes. The crowd gasped, thinking the fight might be over. But Jackie recovered quickly, using his acrobatic skills to bounce off the ropes and come back with a spinning back fist that just missed Ali's jaw. "You!" Ali exclaimed, his eyes widening with genuine surprise. "Where did that come from?" The near miss seemed to energize both fighters. For the remainder of the round, they engaged in a furious exchange that had the crowd on its feet. Jackie's martial arts techniques were unorthodox but effective, forcing Ali to adapt his style in ways he rarely had to. Ali's boxing skills were on full display, his combinations flowing together with a rhythm and precision that was poetry in motion. When the bell rang to end the second round, both fighters were breathing hard, and there was a new respect in their eyes as they looked at each other. The third and fourth rounds followed a similar pattern, with both fighters gradually increasing the intensity while still maintaining the pretense that this was just for a commercial. But something was happening that nobody had anticipated. The chemistry between the two fighters, the contrast in their styles, and the electric atmosphere in the arena were creating something that transcended mere entertainment. This was becoming a real fight. By the fifth round, any pretense of holding back had been abandoned. Ali was fighting with the same intensity he had shown against Frazier and Foreman, and Jackie was responding with everything he had learned in over 15 years of martial arts training. The exchanges were fierce, with both men landing significant shots. Jackie's speed and unorthodox angles were giving Ali problems, while Ali's size, reach, and experience were wearing down the smaller man. In the sixth round, Ali caught Jackie with a left hook that sent him to the canvas for the first time. The crowd went silent as Jackie lay on his back, staring up at the bright lights. The referee began his count, and for a moment, it looked like the fight might be over. But Jackie had been knocked down before, many times, in training and in the underground tournaments where he had learned to fight. He rolled to his side, took a deep breath, and pushed himself back to his feet at the count of 7. "You're okay to continue?" Morrison asked. Jackie nodded, and the fight resumed. What happened next surprised everyone, including Ali. Instead of being discouraged by the knockdown, Jackie seemed to find another gear. He came forward with a ferocity that caught the champion off guard, throwing combinations that were part boxing, part kung fu, part pure instinct. For the first time in the fight, Ali was forced to give ground. The 7th, 8th, and 9th rounds were an epic back-and-forth battle that had the crowd in a frenzy. Both fighters were showing signs of damage. Ali had a cut over his left eye from an unusual uppercut that Jackie had thrown from a crouched position. Jackie's face was swollen from repeated jabs, and he was breathing heavily from the sustained pace. But neither man was willing to give an inch. In the 10th round, Jackie nearly scored his own knockdown when he caught Ali with a perfectly timed counterpunch as the champion was coming forward. Ali stumbled backward, his legs shaky for a moment, before regaining his balance. The look he gave Jackie was one of pure respect. "Boy," Ali said between rounds, loud enough for the cameras to pick up, "you can fight." The 11th round was perhaps the most brutal of the entire contest. Both fighters knew they were running out of time, and they threw everything they had at each other. Ali's experience began to show as he systematically broke down Jackie's defense with body shots and perfectly placed jabs. But Jackie's heart was on full display as he absorbed the punishment and kept coming forward, landing his own shots and refusing to be intimidated. As the bell rang to start the 12th and final round, both fighters were exhausted, battered, but somehow still standing. The crowd was on its feet, sensing that they were witnessing something truly special. The final round was 3 minutes of pure warfare. Both fighters abandoned any thought of defense and simply tried to impose their will on the other. Ali, drawing on decades of championship experience, seemed to find reserves of energy that shouldn't have existed. Jackie, fighting on pure heart and determination, matched him shot for shot. With 30 seconds left in the round, both fighters were barely standing, held up as much by their mutual respect as by their own strength. They came together in the center of the ring, throwing punches that had little power behind them but all the heart in the world. When the final bell rang, both fighters collapsed into each other's arms, too exhausted to continue but too proud to fall. The referee stepped between them, and for a moment, the arena was completely silent. Everyone knew they had just witnessed something unprecedented, but nobody was quite sure what to call it. Morrison raised his microphone and spoke words that would be remembered for decades. "Ladies and gentlemen, after 12 rounds of boxing, I declare both fighters champions. Muhammad Ali, champion of the world, and Jackie Chan, champion of the heart." The crowd erupted in the loudest ovation that the Hong Kong Coliseum had ever heard. Both fighters raised their gloves together, and in that moment, something magical happened. Two different worlds, two different fighting traditions, two different philosophies, had come together and created something greater than the sum of their parts. In the weeks that followed, the footage from that extraordinary day would be edited into what many consider the greatest sports commercial ever made. But more than that, it would become a symbol of what was possible when people from different backgrounds came together with mutual respect and a willingness to test themselves against the best. For Jackie Chan, the fight with Muhammad Ali became a turning point in his career. The courage and heart he had shown in the ring with the greatest boxer of all time opened doors that had previously been closed. Hollywood producers who had never heard of him suddenly wanted to meet the man who had gone 12 rounds with Muhammad Ali and earned the champion's respect. For Muhammad Ali, the fight represented something different but equally important. In his later years, as Parkinson's disease began to affect his speech and movement, he would often speak about that day in Hong Kong, not about the punches he had landed or the techniques he had used, but about the young martial artist who had refused to quit, who had shown him that courage and determination transcended cultural boundaries. "That boy taught me something," Ali would say. "He taught me that a champion isn't just someone who wins fights. A champion is someone who brings out the best in others, who makes everyone around them better than they thought they could be." The lesson that both fighters learned that day, and that everyone who witnessed it took away, was that greatness isn't about defeating others. It's about pushing yourself and those around you to reach heights that seemed impossible. It's about showing respect for your opponent while never backing down from a challenge. It's about understanding that sometimes the greatest victories come not from knocking someone down, but from helping them stand back up. In a world that often seems divided by differences in culture, language, and tradition, that 12-round fight between Muhammad Ali and Jackie Chan stands as a testament to what's possible when people meet each other with open hearts and mutual respect. It reminds us that, at our best, we don't seek to diminish others, but to elevate them. We don't try to prove our superiority, but to discover our shared humanity. The commercial that resulted from that day was indeed successful, but the real product was something far more valuable. It was proof that when we approach each other with courage, respect, and a willingness to test our limits, we can create moments that transcend entertainment and become genuine inspiration. Years later, when Jackie Chan had become one of the most recognizable faces in cinema and Muhammad Ali was recognized as not just a great athlete, but a great human being, they would occasionally cross paths at various events. And every time they met, they would embrace like old friends who had shared something special, something that belonged just to them and to the thousands of people who were lucky enough to witness it. That day in Hong Kong, two champions entered the ring. When it was over, the world had gained something precious, the knowledge that true greatness lies not in conquering others, but in bringing out the best in everyone we encounter. It's a lesson that echoes far beyond the confines of any boxing ring. A reminder that our greatest victories come when we lift each other up, rather than tear each other down.